Right. Hi, everybody. This is Jerry Thompson again with you at the talk table. And we, you know, we bring these shows to you because there's something in it that can help you in your everyday life, right? Whether it be we talking about finances or your health or legal issues. We try to talk about everything on this show so that it will help you in some way. And today is no different. And today we're going to talk about your mental health, right? So obviously, we're going through a pandemic, and besides the obvious problems that would come with that would be feeling sick because you got the virus or something like that, or losing your financial stability because this time a lot of people are losing their jobs. You can also find it hard to cope with what's going on, right? So that affects your mental health. So today we want to talk about that and see if there's any way we can shed some light on how we can help you cope with what's going on right now in all its forms and your mental health. So today we have a family therapist, and she's going to help us decipher and to cope with what's going on. And maybe after the show, you will find something useful to help you. I also wish you would invite your friends to watch the show. If you want to leave a comment, if you would like to ask a question at the bottom, just leave it in the comments below, and we may share your question on the show, right? So I'm going to bring in Cassandra Uthman, and she's going to come on now and try to help us out. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you? So you are a family therapist, and right now we need all the help we can get because a lot of crazy things are happening. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so thank you. I am a marriage family therapist, and what that means is that I have a skill base around relational work. And if you experience this or even heard about this recently, due to the pandemic, people are stuck in their homes. And sometimes that's really impacting their relationships. If they don't have concerns about finances or they're concerned about, getting coronavirus, then they're also having some relational things that are happening. And so my skill set is really in talking with families, with couples, with people who live together or have some type of unique relationship, close bond or not,
Mhm.
and try to work through that process. And so that's my skill base.
Wow, that's a lot. Just dealing with regular relationship problems alone
Hmm.
outside of a pandemic is enough. Now you're dealing with inside of one. That's just crazy. So what are some of the things you sort of experience, like people tell you about?
So some of the things, and as a trained marriage family therapist, I'm just like other mental health professionals. So if you've heard of terms like mental health counselor, social workers, and other licensed clinic counselors or clinicians in the mental health field, is similar things. So I also see patients individually
Mhm.
um, around maybe if they're having some anxiety, if there's some depression, other psychological disorders, and then also related to maybe some medical conditions.
Mhm.
Also are skilled in doing that too, and trying to work with medical conditions, taking in like maybe some mental health diagnoses, as well as family or relational work. If that answered your question, just want to make sure I answered you.
Sometimes we think it's one thing or we assume it's one thing, but it's not. What are some of the misconceptions about it?
About therapy, I think some
Mhm.
people think that you'll go in and you lay on a couch and you just tell all your problems. And to some extent, you do. However, there's different types of therapy and there's different types of interventions.
Mm.
So, I would call that you kind of go into a therapy room and you vent your problems. That can be helpful to some situations, but also therapy is meant to help problem solve and make some progress. So it's about building a skill set. It's about sharpening a skill set.
Mhm.
Some people imagine that a therapist or counselor is going to know the answer to every single thing that they bring up to them. And so I say that's a common misconception. Our role is to have the skills to help you figure it out and get to that place and build that skill set and a toolkit and knowledge base to have to effectively work at that. So we do a lot of problem solving and working around maybe some areas of your life that you're bringing into the room. And so we're really collaborative and trying to work with you around that area.
Good, because another misconception is that all you would ask me is, how does that make you feel? You get a lot, right? So, but it's a lot deeper than that. So, who can benefit from therapy? Who would you say can benefit from that?
Mm-hmm. I would say people who feel like they need an opinion or assistance in working through a situation. And so sometimes when people come to therapy, it can be around a specific issue or problem that they want resolved in some way. And the benefits of therapy is the therapist is non-judgmental. So our goal is to help you work through that problem. And so it could be a brief number of sessions. Sometimes therapy can be 3 sessions. Sometimes a therapy session can be 1 session. It can be 8 to 12 sessions. And so I would say anyone who feel like they want an outside opinion, maybe even someone who just wants to test out therapy and see what it's like, is someone I think can benefit from therapy. Just having someone else who's neutral to talk through a situation. If you feel like you got a problem that you need help trying to figure out and solving, therapy is also beneficial for that too.
Yeah, you mentioned someone who's non-judgmental. You have to. I'm saying, must have a lot of patience to deal with other people's problems. A good listener, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have all of that patience, but I try. I try.
Mm-hmm. It's just
Um,
also a skill set that you learn and you hone. So.
mhm, mhm. So, I think that a lot of times so I said, who can benefit? A lot of times we believe that we don't need it, right? We say, okay, we know we have a problem, but I can handle it myself. I don't need a therapist. What
Mm-hmm.
would you say to that?
Mm-hmm. I would say that's okay. I would echo in terms of some people may not need therapy. I won't say that everyone needs therapy. I would say everyone could potentially benefit from therapy,
Mhm.
but I also think therapy takes some work and effort on the part of the person coming in. And so I think if a person genuinely feels like they don't want to participate in therapy, I can understand that.
Mhm.
And then I also understand people's reservations about therapy is that you don't want to tell someone all your problems potentially because you feel like they might judge you, even if they say they are
Right, right,
non-judgmental. The risk of potentially thinking it's going to get out there somehow.
right.
And so I think how I take it is that people understand that therapy is work and it's all about understanding for themselves if they're ready to take that work. And it's work, it's self-work. And so it's up to them to decide if they feel like that's something that they want to embark on. And even if they choose not to, I don't see that as a poor choice or an option against themselves. It's just a knowledge base that they have of themselves and what they're ready for.
Yeah, I would always advocate for someone going to receive therapy because, and I'm not a therapist. I'm just saying, um, I feel like people try and fix their own problems, and sometimes they make a mess of things, or they wait too long until it gets like really bad. Um, in my mind, again, I'm not a therapist, but my mind is like you need an objective person, someone on the outside looking in, to say, well, this is what's really happening. When you're looking at yourself, you're very subjective. It's all about me and I know what I like. But when you have another person looking in, I think it's very beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just like what you're saying is having that objective opinion is helpful.
Yeah.
For people to get a view of themselves as well.
The analogy I would bring up is like proofreading. So you write a term paper and you're reading it and you are not seeing any problems with it because you wrote it, so it's in your brain. So you just read over all the misspelled words and all that. But when you have someone to proofread that document, they're not reading it for the first time. They can now see, oh, yeah, you made a mistake here. You spelled that wrong. That's my analogy of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like your analogy of that. Yeah.
Okay, you can use it anytime you want. There is a notion that people of color tend not to think that therapy is for them. Like that's for white people. I hear that all the time, right? I would think not, but I rather hear what you say.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is I am African American, and so I've heard that as well. I've also, a little background on me is that I'm definitely within the Black church community. That was a big thing, a part of my life growing up. And so in my experience and in my family's experience, church and reliance on God was therapy in so to speak. And so now as I'm in this career field, I'm definitely all about educating and being open and also understanding about the opinions of those in the Black community. I feel like therapy's not for them. And so my goal and part of why I'm a therapist is to also show that I'm, as a Black person, I am, a part of the field. So I think not seeing as many therapists that look like us also was a challenge, and potentially could understand the experience of other Black people. Not to say that Black people are a monolith, but just to have some understanding. I think in my work, I'm trying to make progress in that area, and definitely am open to having conversations about it.
I've even heard, because even in my church, I've even heard some church members saying, once you have God, you don't need therapy. You don't need a therapist. You don't need anyone else to help you. I don't think that's true, but I think that God can place professionals in your life to help you. That's pretty obvious to me.
Right. But, and also professionals who are also spiritual,
right,
and still bring God in therapy. That's a thing that can happen.
Yeah. I can talk all day about church and therapy, and that's a whole topic by itself. So, yeah. So I think that everyone needs therapy and all can make use of it. We want to take a short break, right? And when we come back, we want to talk about the pandemic that's going on right now and what is some of the things that it's affecting us mentally and how we can, I guess, cope with it. Right? So we'll be right back.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. but it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Youngevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Youngevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
All right. Hi again, everybody. We are talking with family therapist Cassandra Uthman, and we are talking about your mental health. Right? It's very important that you take care of your mind, because besides the fact that it's a terrible thing to waste, but it can go pretty quickly if you do not take care of yourself. Sometimes stress can be, what did I say? Very damaging, right? Especially right now, we are in the pandemic. A lot of things are going on. A lot of things are affecting people. So what are some of the things that you think people are going through right now during the pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's probably a number of things that I could go on about specifically, but similar to what I was saying earlier, being within the house more. If you heard about statistics about relationships and some marriages kind of like fracturing or ending in divorce, it's a higher rate of divorce, specifically around the pandemic or since the pandemic. That could be one thing. Again, financial security. A lot of people are worried about that. And during this period of time with the presidential election, with racial tension that is happening currently and even around the world, I think the additional piece of people being within their homes, most of their connections now are through social media. And that's a positive thing. And that can also be very negative, or I would kind of say more of a drawing or draining thing. So when your connection to, other people and understanding what's happening around the world is through social media, it can also be a challenge because you have access to more things. A lot of other things to potentially compare oneself to, and trying to balance that with reality and what this new state of reality looks like and can look like. What are the new expectations with what does it mean to be a person and what does it mean to be successful can definitely be challenging, and that is something that some people are grappling with.
Yeah, one thing the pandemic has told us to do that we should have been doing all along, but learning to adapt, right? Adapt to change. Even in my business life, I had to change my business to adapt to people being at home, people being on Zoom. So when I deal with my clients, it's more or less no longer in person, but it's online. And that means making more things available remotely. So in business, I had to adapt. I would think in your own life, you need to learn how to adapt as well, to cope with everything that's going on. Right? I was wondering about, so we talked about resilience. I don't know how to say it. For me, it's easy to let things roll off my back. right? To not like be too concerned with what people are saying and what people are doing, because we just spoke about social media, and when you go on there, you see a lot of examples of other people, and you may post a picture, and two people may like the picture, and you're wondering what's wrong with my picture, and only two people.
Mm-hmm.
How should someone deal with that? Like,
With not kind of the disappointment around
yeah, with the disappointments or
getting a
being
response.
resilient. Yeah.
Hmm. If I can ask you too, what do you feel like some of the thoughts that would run in that person's head who's maybe disappointed with the lack of responses they're getting on social media?
I think it's like they tend to compare themselves with
Hmm.
other people when they see them posting nice things on Facebook, or if they get a lot of likes, they're like acceptance. I got 200 likes, so a lot of people must like me, right? If I got 2 likes, everyone hates me, but I don't think that's necessarily true. There are many reasons why someone would like a picture or not. So in that realm I'm talking about.
Hmm. Yeah, and so in therapy, if I was in a therapy session potentially with someone like that, I would probably talk about what would be their goals or their hopes.
Mhm.
Also trying to understand some of the, maybe if it was an attempt to create relationship with people,
Mm.
if they're following a role model. And the purpose of it is, at least for me, is really just trying to draw from them again their purposes, but also what is this saying about them, and
Right.
what is it saying about what their needs are. And so if their needs are is for connection, so to speak, for example, we can talk about other ways to get connection.
Right.
If it's for approval, we can talk about other ways to get approval from someone. And also even bringing into the conversation, providing approval for yourself. So it's an interesting example, which can probably go a number of ways in
Mhm.
talking about it, but I think that's how I would approach that and talk with someone who was expressing that.
Yeah, that's good, because I even see it with kids. Um, my other day job is a teacher, right?
Mhm.
And I'm talking about kids. They really go after these likes and approvals and all that. Um, Sometimes I wonder. Okay, I don't know exactly how this goes, but sometimes I wonder about kids growing up in a pandemic where they have to be away from other kids or other people. So
Mhm.
they always try to say, we need to work together, or we need to embrace everybody. But now we're saying, no, we need to stay away from everybody. I always wonder how it's affecting kids who may not know better, like what's exactly happening right now.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it happens in a different ways, because then if they're still embedded in a family, they're
Mhm.
still having connection
Right.
with people. If they have siblings, they're still having connection with other children. And then it depends also on the family, because I'm thinking some families, they don't completely isolate. There might be other family members or other
Mhm.
friend groups, especially now since the pandemic has proven itself to be around for a period of time. There's a sense of normalcy that everyone is trying to return to, just around maybe with more parameters. And so now they can connect with people, but it's a new way of connecting with other children. It may not just be online. Maybe they can connect to one friend who's a trusted friend, or maybe it's a cousin that they still can connect to. So that way it's staying there.
Mhm.
They're still keeping that connection. What I think children are learning, other than how to connect online, I think they're already, a lot of children are really well skilled in that already. So that might not be a steep learning curve But what they're learning now is, I think, in terms about the existence of life. And so we talk now about, it's a nice way to have a conversation about reality and about what is not real. And so we think about the video game experience, about that not being real and existing in reality. So it's a nice opportunity to have with children about how do we respect life? How do we respect life of others and take precautions to maintain that, and teach them to have that value and appreciation, and then also understand that it can be a hard time, that you can't connect in the way that you want to. You can share the frustration with your child, and saying that we really miss the things that we used to can do. But I probably can go on and on about that.
Yeah, we are having some comments from some of our viewers. They are thankful that you're here. That's good. So you mentioned reality, trying to deal with reality with the gaming world. I teach computer science at the school that I work at, and with that also comes robotics, right? So I also teach robotics, and I was telling them just last week, okay, you guys, that was what grade was that? That was probably my 3rd and 4th grade. 20 years from now, you guys are going to grow up and you're going to have your families and all that, whatever. And you're going to have to deal with robots living alongside you. It's kind of weird, but I think it's going to happen, right? And when they have kids, those kids are going to be born with a robot in the family, and it's going to be perfectly normal because that's what you're born into, right? Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned knowing how to decipher between reality and what's not real. Might want to get used to it now, learn that now, because at some point you're going to have Bob over here, who is made out of metal, right?
Right. That's right. It makes me think about that Back to the Future movie, and didn't they go to the future, and it was probably like 2020, and they thought it was going to be flying cars and everything like that. It makes me think about that. But yes, and if the future is with this incorporating the artificial intelligence and robots and things like that, what still is going to be important is the ability to connect with other people.
Yep.
And that's what makes my role, my career so important to me, is even in the midst of whatever is happening, relationships are important, and your ability to still connect with other people through grief, through conflict, whatever it is, it's important. And that's a value that I hold. And so I also think that in the midst of anything, finding ways to connect it is important, and to maintain it.
I actually know of probably 2 people. That was the biggest problem with the pandemic, not being able to connect in person with their friends. Yes, they have done FaceTime before the pandemic, but now that you have to, like you have no choice, it became a problem. It became great stress for those two friends of mine, being that there's no other option at the time, right? So that's why I mentioned resilience. You got to learn to be resilient and learn how to adapt about anything.
Right. Yeah. Were those 2 people, was it like a romantic relationship? Was it a significant other, or was it just in general?
Just
they themselves and had a hard time.
Just 2 female friends. They don't even know each other. They're used to being with their friends.
Okay, right? Seeing them.
But they'll FaceTime every now and then, like everyone else. But they were able to say, "Hey, let's go out to the mall," and whatever. But they were not able to do that. And of course, now we can do that a little bit more. But
Okay.
during March and April and all that, there was like, no. So they were finding it hard. They can't even go out with their friends, and they had to adapt. My own mom, actually, she was saying that she's like bored to death because she's like home all day. Because in her age group, it's really bad for people in her age group. And she's like, I'm ready for this to go because the house is only so big and I can only walk around in the house by myself so often, right?
Right. Yeah. I've heard that in terms of there was benefits to people kind of quarantining together during the early period. At least they had someone else around the house that you all, a number of people were in the house together, and that it was harder for some people that were living alone.
Yeah. A lot of people going crazy. All right. So what is something you would like us to take away from, in terms of therapy or in terms of mental health, how we can cope? What is one thing as we wrap it up?
Well, I want to go back to something you said, Jerry. You said everyone can benefit from therapy.
Yeah.
So I would say if someone is looking into going to therapy, definitely I would encourage them to try. If they want to try it out for one session and just see what it is like, I would say do it. And I would just add this thing of you, if they're interested in actually trying it out, you don't have to put all your eggs into one basket. Go to therapy and you don't like the therapist, or you feel like the connection isn't right, or you don't like the room. That's okay. Each therapist is different. Sometimes it's okay to just try to find a person that you kind of can feel like you can have a good rapport with. Rapport is very important in therapy, but it also depends on who you are. So if you don't care about the rapport and you just kind of want to get in there, work on it, it doesn't really matter who it is. You're okay with talking with, whoever it might be in front of you. That's okay. But definitely I would just give, if someone's looking to try out therapy, I would say do it. And, create a list of things that you may want to talk about, some questions that you might have about therapy. Again, maybe cost, what kind of specialty that they have, maybe, in case they're taking insurance or not, just to maybe understand more. What do you think you would be interested in knowing about the therapist in terms of like who they are or what their interests are or what their specialty is, whatever that may be. It could be things like that you think are important to you. Create a list and go based on that.
That's interesting. That just reminded me of something. So try this one out, try this other therapist out. That's great. Do you recommend having 2 or 3 at the same time though?
Multiple therapists?
Yeah, at the same time.
No.
Yeah.
No. And when I say try it out, I don't mean like just go multiple places. I say that to say if some people may feel so much pressure once they go to therapy to stay with that one person. And if it doesn't go well, they feel like they're not really learning a lot. It can be hard for some people to say, you know what, I really don't like what's happening here.
Right.
I kind of feel like I want to, try something different. So if you feel like you want to try a different therapist, try a different environment, that is okay. So I'm trying to give the leeway, but I do not believe that someone should have multiple therapists. The only time that someone should have multiple therapists is if they have it for different reasons. So I said, I'm a marriage family therapist. So someone can see me with their spouse or their partner for couples therapy, and then they can have an individual therapist that they work on specific work. So those are cases that you can have multiple therapists.
But I would believe that, I would assume that you need to be honest with yourself in that your therapist does not know you. Like, you are a stranger at first. They don't know anything about you. So if you hold back, they won't know exactly how to treat you, I would think. And you can't blame them now saying, well, she didn't do a good job, but you didn't say everything about what's going on.
Right. Well said. So that's the piece of it. If someone feels like they're going to therapy and they're holding back and they're not really getting anything out of it, the therapist can't do them as much a service as they would want. And so what is better is for them to find a place that they feel like they can be open and actually benefit from therapy. And so that's why that's why I don't go to everyone should go to therapy, because if they're not ready to be open,
right,
to do that work, unfortunately, if I could be a mind reader, I don't know if I would want to be anyway, but if we can't read minds,
right.
So definitely having someone being open and wanting to do the work, I'm all willing to help them as best I can.
Yeah. And when I was in college, I, like everyone else, I did psychology and all that. And I was thinking, hey, maybe I could go into psychology, even, as a professional. But it's just, there's so many different kinds of thinking people have and the different assumptions people make and their norms. And I said, you know what, let me just stick with business and computers. It's a lot safer. So hats off to you.
Thanks.
Hats off to you doing that. All right. So that's our show for today. I hope you have benefited a lot from learning about trying to take care of your mind. Remember, there's no shame, all right, in going for help and trying to get help. Something is wrong. You need help to fix it. It's just logical. It's normal. It's advised. It's encouraged, right? We want to thank Cassandra Uthman. She's a marriage family therapist, right? Got that right. Mm-hmm. And we thank you for watching the show. Stay tuned next week. And if you have any advice you would like us to talk about on the show, anything you'd like us to talk about, just let us know. In the page, go to the talktable.com and just give your ideas so we can talk about it, because it's all about you, all to help you. Thank you again for being on the show with us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Super Greens is a one-of-a-kind blend that's loaded with hard-to-find nutrient-dense superfoods. We've used what we've learned from our more than 20 years working with mineral-based nutrition to create one of the healthiest plant-based nutritional products available. Each superfood was carefully selected so that it complements and enhances the others, helping to maximize Super Green's nutritional power. Next, we added a specialized fermentation technique to increase the bioavailability of each superfood. Finally, we put in powerful probiotics and enzymes for added digestive support to give you jam-packed nutritional support. Youngevity Super Greens, the highly alkalinizing super supplement that helps balance your body. It's the superfood-powered way to get more organic fruits and veggies in your day, all in just one scoop. Check with your Youngevity distributor to learn more.